Today I'm going to explain the movie called Hippopotamus from 2018. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care, and I hope you enjoy it. The story of this movie is amazing, and it has an unexpected ending. That's why you must watch the whole video. At the beginning of the movie, we saw that a girl woke up and discovered herself in a locked room. She was alone in that room, and she also noticed that her legs had bandages. That's why she couldn't move her legs. Someone came into that room and told her that his name is Thomas. He told her that she's been kidnapped and kept in this room, and she will stay here until she falls in love with Thomas. And then Thomas told her that her name is Ruby. Slowly he told everything about her, such as her age, education, parents' name, etc., which means Ruby has forgotten everything about herself. Thomas told her that he cut off the ligaments of her legs, and that's why she can't even move from that place. Thomas also told her that he will come to her 3 times a day to give her food, and after her meal, she'll have to take her medicine, and he'll give her a bath every 2 days. It will help her to go to the washroom. If she tries to walk on her own, then her legs will be disabled for her whole life. If she wants her legs to be like before, then she'll have to listen to everything that Thomas says. Ruby was not able to run away from there, and that room was so far away from the city. After saying this, Thomas left after closing the door. Ruby was totally alone in that room. If anything else was in that room, it was her bag. The bag was kept on a chair, but the chair was far from her. We saw that Thomas would come there 3 times a day to bring her food and water, and then he would leave. Ruby stayed there alone. One day, Ruby went to that chair with the help of her hands, and she took the bag. She found some of her personal belongings in that bag. She found her driving license. She tried to see herself in a tiny makeup mirror, so that she can understand that the photo on the driving license was her. And then she realized that it was her driving license. Then she heard that Thomas was coming, so she immediately went to her previous position. But unfortunately, a ball fell out of her bag. But Ruby hid that ball in her shorts pocket before Thomas came there. Thomas came there and forcefully made her take the painkillers. After that, Ruby fell asleep. After waking up, Thomas told her the same thing, that her name is Ruby and she'll have to stay here until she falls in love with him. The ligaments on her legs are damaged. He told her everything exactly the same as last time. Ruby also asked him the question as before. Ruby didn't remember anything, and Thomas left. The question is for how long Ruby has been staying there. Maybe Thomas had kept her there for so long, and every time he erased her memory so that she could not remember anything of her past life. But then Ruby found that ball from her shorts, and she started to have doubts about Thomas immediately. She was thinking about how the ball got into her shorts. In the next scene, Thomas came there and did her leg exercise. After that, he gave her a bath and gave her food, and then he left. Ruby tried once again to recognize herself in the mirror. There was a bandage on her head, and in that bandage there was some stain of blood, but Ruby could not feel any pain in that place. She tried to see if there was any wound in her head, but then we saw that Thomas was sitting in the next room and watching Ruby through the door. Ruby saw him too, and she went back to her previous place with the help of her hands. Thomas came into that room and gave her the medicine. Ruby fell asleep after taking the medicine, and everything became the same as before. Ruby woke up, and Thomas told her the same things as last time, such as who she is, why she's here, for how long she's been here, or how long she'll stay here. Ruby also asked him the same question as before. It looked like she did not remember anything at all. Some days have passed like this, but because of that, Ruby knew that she was here for so many days. One day, Ruby tried to talk to Thomas, and she asked him to give her a book and a pillow and a blanket, because she was getting bored there. Thomas thought that maybe Ruby was getting attracted towards him. That's why he gave her everything. When Ruby was reading the book that Thomas gave her, she just remembers this one thing from her past life. Thomas told her that this book is a trigger that is connected with her emotion because it was her favorite book, and maybe she can get back her memory by reading that book. Thomas will help her with that. After that, Thomas left. The next morning, Thomas came back and asked Ruby what her favorite coffee was, and after some time, he made that coffee for her, as if he knew what she would have asked for. While she was drinking the coffee, her memory got triggered. Ruby felt like she was in her past life. She was alone in that room, and she was reading the book, but she found some strange writing on a page. She tried to read it with the broken mirror, which she had kept hidden in the bandage of her leg. It was written in backwards letters. It was written, "Don't trust him." Ruby got worried after seeing this and thought, why shouldn't she trust Thomas? In the evening, Thomas brought a table and 2 chairs into the room, and then both of them had dinner together. While having dinner, Ruby asked him about how many girls he's kept in this room. First, he does some research on the girls, then he forces them to fall in love with him. After that, he rapes them, and after that, he kills them. Ruby was thinking that the book that Thomas gave her was from another girl who was locked here before her, and maybe that girl wrote on the page, "Don't trust him." Thomas got mad after hearing this and hit his hand on the table. Therefore, the glass of water broke, and his hand was bleeding. Ruby realized her mistake. Thomas told her that she's the only girl, and he just wants her to fall in love with him. After saying this, Thomas left. The next day, Ruby noticed her legs and saw that her legs were totally fine. She took off the bandages, and there were no scars from the operation also. She could not move properly since she had been sitting in the same position for so long. Ruby read that book again, and noticed that the writing was written with a matchbox. After that, she found those used matchsticks behind a brick. She found so many used matchsticks behind that block, which means she was there for so long. And Thomas was lying to her. Ruby wondered how those matchsticks came there, because she does not remember anything except the used matchsticks. After that, we saw that Ruby and Thomas had candlelight dinner every night, and she took those used matchsticks from there. One day, Ruby wrote in the book that she'll keep playing this game with Thomas. We saw that Ruby slowly started to move, and then she was able to walk and run. But when Thomas came, she would act like she couldn't walk. Ruby also did some exercises in the room. We realized that she was planning for a big thing. Ruby knows that she's totally fine, and she can walk and run. But when Thomas came into the room, she noticed that she could not remember anything. And then, one day, Thomas brought food for Ruby. After eating that, Ruby got back another memory of hers, and she was eating the same food with Thomas in a restaurant. Thomas told her that it was their marriage anniversary. Ruby was so surprised after hearing this. At night, Ruby saw a drawing, and she was the one who made those drawings. Ruby was getting closer to Thomas day by day. Thomas was thinking that Ruby was falling in love with him, but actually, Ruby was trying to escape from the room, but she couldn't. One night, Ruby danced with Thomas, and she again got back another memory of hers. In that memory, Thomas was proposing to her to marry him. Ruby said yes. She asked him what happened to them that their life became like this. Thomas thought that maybe Ruby was ready to know the truth. Thomas told her that on a weekend, she was in a bar with her friend, Nick. Thomas was supposed to pick her up from that bar, but he missed his train and couldn't get there in time. Nick saw that Ruby was very drunk, and that's why he took her to his flat and raped her. Thomas went to Nick's flat looking for Ruby with his friend's car. He saw that Nick was forcing her to have sex with him and had beat her so badly. Ruby was badly injured. Thomas loved her so much that he could not tolerate this. That's why he killed Nick. This accident with Ruby traumatized her, and she lost her memory because of this. She couldn't recognize Thomas or herself. Thomas took her far from the city and then locked her in a room. Thomas loved her so much. He didn't want to give up on her. Thomas noticed that if she sleeps for too long, she loses her memory, and she only remembered the accident. Thomas slowly tried to get her memory back, just like we try to remember something after seeing an old photo. Ruby also thought that Thomas would do something bad with her, but Thomas created such an environment so that he can slowly become Thomas in front of Ruby instead of a villain. And it took him so long to do this. He let her sleep for 4 hours a day so that she can remember everything. Finally, when Thomas thought that everything had become normal and Ruby was ready to know the truth, then he told her everything. But Ruby attacked him with a broken mirror that she kept to herself. After that, she was able to get out of there. And after she came out of the room, she saw that she was on an island, and there was a boat. While she was running towards the boat, she fell down and she fainted. When she woke up, she discovered herself in a hospital bed. The doctor told her that she had lost her memory, but he'll try his best to bring it back. After saying this, the doctor left. Actually, the doctor was none other than Thomas. So viewers, this movie is about the love story of Thomas and Ruby. They got married, but after their marriage, Ruby had an accident that she could never forget. This accident had a very bad impact on her brain, and that's why she forgot everything in her life. To watch more explanations of these kinds of movies, click on the videos on your screen. And don't forget to let me know how you feel about today's video in the comments down below. And at last, I will say, stay safe, stay well, thanks.